Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to talk about going to live tournaments. So most of these videos that I've been making have been kind of with the mindset of me relearning how to play the game. As I was planning to go to Endor Grand Prix, which is going to be my first, I guess it's in the past now, which was my first in-person Star Wars event in 20 plus years. And so, as a new and returning player, as a NARP, I wanted to, get a handle on the meta, and so I was playing different decks, and that's kind of what the whole series has been about. And so, yeah, now I just wanted to take a little bit of time and reflect on the event and talk a little bit about how it went. And I think if there's one thing to take away from the video, or this video, it's that you should make every effort you can to go to in-person events. I know depending on where you live, what country you're in, or what part of the country you're in, if you're in the States, it might not be possible. Flights are not as cheap as they used to be, and the events, they are scattered around the country, but it might not be realistic for you. Europeans, got it even tougher, right? Way fewer events over there, and so it is a challenge, but I think that they are the heart and soul events, are the heart and soul of Star Wars CCG, and the thing that really keeps the community, gives the community momentum, keeps it driving forward, right? And it builds that really strong sense of community, and they're a ton of fun. It's not just about playing Star Wars cards either, as we'll talk about. So yeah, if you can, go to events, and even if you don't know anybody, one thing that I found was that everyone was just overwhelmingly friendly. People introducing themselves and hey, where you from? Cool. First event, glad to have you back. Yada yada yada, all that sort of stuff. And it was easy to be there, and you have this common connection. I know gamers as gamers, sometimes social awkwardness is a real thing, but there's this connection of Star Wars, the love of the game, the love of the cards, and I think that makes it easier to meet these complete strangers at these events, because you already share that thing. So yes, go to events. That's the biggest thing that I can hope that people take away from this or remember about this. As far as the event itself, I want to make sure that people get their recognition for putting this on, because as someone who went down and had a fantastic time, it's a lot of people's effort that goes into that, whether that's the PC and organizing the prizes and the registration and all that sort of stuff, to Chris Werfs, and the people in Seattle, the other Seattle play group, who are setting this up and planning it and organizing it, booking the venue and all that sort of stuff. Chris Schoenthal was there just running the event, and other people like Dan Tertaglione and Brandon Beatty kind of setting up the stream and running the stream. I know Yan did a lot of the streaming, and lots of other players too were stepping in and streaming. I'm not exactly sure, I haven't watched all the stream, but here you can see in the finals is Joe there commentating. So yeah, everyone who put in effort to make the event come together, and hopefully next year I'll be able to give back in some ways, and help as well, because I think everybody chips in and does a little bit and does their part, and then it makes it less work on the shoulders of just a couple individuals, and then everyone's more likely to keep doing it when it's easy like that. So on the topic of meeting strangers and the welcoming friendliness of the community, and thanks to give out, I spent the night. So I went down on Thursday night just because I wanted to be in Seattle. I heard there was some stuff going on, and so I thought, maybe I'll go down to the hotel early or check in, but I didn't want to pay the extra night at the hotel, so I kind of sent out a message in Slack, hey, anybody interested in having some big guy crash on your couch or floor or whatnot? And sure enough, got a response, and Callum was kind enough to say, hey, yeah, you can come stay at my place. I'd never met him, never spoken to him. It was the first interaction we had, and here he is offering up to have a stranger come stay at his house. So big thanks to Kyle, who made top 8 at the event, so that was awesome to see too. And then Mike was there as well with Kyle, and he had to endure my snoring throughout the night, so it was also his Kyle's generosity and his generosity for sharing his sleeping space too. But I went down Thursday night, meet them for the first time. We have a great time talking about cards, talking about decks, cutting out cards, building decks. They were kind enough to drill some practice games against me, as I had never played, or not, I hadn't played in person in 20 years, so it's a lot different than playing on GEMP, where you've got to remember the triggers and you've got to be making sure that you are doing all the things that you need to be doing, as the cards are not lighting up in front of you. So that was a great time hanging out with them, and so thanks to them for letting me join. And then went down on Friday to the team tournament, which was fun. I like group events and team events and different formats. It'd be fun to see like a larger, I guess you'd have to have a really big tournament to do it, but I remember different games have different styles of team events where you're like limited by cards, so people couldn't have duplicates of the same card in their decks. But with Light and Dark, that doesn't really happen anyway. I wonder if you did like a 4-man team event where the Light and Darks had to have different people, but probably not realistic unless it's a huge tournament. Anyhow, regardless, it was a lot of fun. Thanks to Derek, the other token Canadian there, with me, for letting me drag down his record in the event. But we had fun together, playing some games on Friday night. Oh yeah, and then also, if one of the things that's holding you back from going to an event is saying, I don't have the cards to make this deck work, or blah blah blah, that's another thing, the generosity of the community. People that I didn't know or hadn't met, Derek lent me cards to complete my deck, and some of them quite valuable, like All Wings combo I used in my hidden base deck, which we'll talk about in a second. And Mike Turner as well, giving me a bunch of cards. And then even on the day 2 event, I decided I want to play OA. Didn't have a General Lando. Asked around. Somebody said, "Oh, Mike Kessling's got one." I was like, "Okay." I'd only met Mike the day before briefly, and he was more than happy to grab it for you and just get it back to me, sort of thing. So people are generous with their cards, and that's just an awesome way to make sure that people can get involved and go to events and don't have to be afraid of that sort of thing. Going into the event, I knew that I did not have enough. I got a feel for what the strong decks were and what the strong decks were going to be. but I knew that I didn't have enough experience with them to kind of outplay people, and with the game in general. I knew that I was not, if I was going to win games, I wasn't going to outplay anyone. So when I thought about what decks to take, I thought, you know what, I want to take decks that I'm going to enjoy playing, and I want to take decks where, I can give myself a chance. So I thought Lightside's playing a lot of Qui-Gon communing, some Yoda communing, a lot of OA, but Qui-Gon commuting seemed to me to be the kind of most popular deck. It was a deck that wasn't running any space at the time. Similar with Shadow Collective, SC, was also a very popular dark deck. They weren't running space at the time either. And so I thought, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll just play 2 space decks and just try and drain race people. The least amount of battles I can get in, the better my chances of winning, even though battles are, a lot of the fun. But to me, the deck building and strategy and what deck to take is a lot of the fun too. So I don't mind, some people would say boring games, but maybe you say strategic games as well. So for Dark Side, I decided to build a space deck, and I decided to go with OS or ISB, and I built this based off of I believe maybe it was Baroni's Outrider Cup list, or maybe I'm getting the name wrong, maybe it's somebody else. Anyway, one of the Outrider Cup lists had an ISB deck, and I had all the another reason I went with this deck is because I had all the They Must Never Again Leave the Cities, because my favorite deck back in the day was Dark Deal, and so when I first started getting back into it, I was like, hey, I want to play something like Dark Deal. I want to drop that Executor down for free. I want to get my cards back. So I had everything built for the new version of this deal is getting worse than non-flip version, but so it lined up with the cards that were available to me as well, so that was good. And I thought, you know what, if I can control space, use cards like the batteries and the cannons and the shut down the main reactor to keep them from running away, and if I can kick them out of space, then I can potentially out-drain them with Chiranu, and then the retrieval from ISB itself will help. So my plan against Qui-Gon decks was just to not deploy a battleground location at all, and just drain race them. Unfortunately, I figured out at one point a flaw in my plan is that I wouldn't have 3 battleground systems to satisfy the cap the drains at 2, so then they could just stack big drains with lightsabers and proficiencies and that sort of stuff. So this should have really been a Coruscant with an icon. I thought, the Force Drain +1 in my head kind of turned it into a battleground, but it doesn't. So that was a mistake in the deck building part. But against other decks like OA, you drop a docking bay down on Jakku, stack some walkers there, limit their drains, and maybe try and hope to out drain race them. It's pretty hard to kick a OA deck out of space, but you never know. So that was my plan anyway, and it didn't work too well. I ended up playing a ton of against a ton of OA, and I just couldn't get them out of space. Couldn't seem to get flipped and get set up. Maybe I didn't have enough ISB agents in, because it seemed like it took me a while to get 4 onto the table, and also because I probably just didn't have enough reps with this deck overall to kind of know the matchups inside and out. And so what I probably should have done was just taken a deck I was more familiar with. So that would be my piece of advice too. If you're going to an event, just take a deck that you're really, really familiar with. Might help overall. And then for light side, I took hidden base. Really straightforward. Canceling drains, big drain bonuses you can get set up. It's got some retrieval. Put in this here to deal with Shadow Collective and I think Walkers was a deck too that I thought people might play a little bit. So I was really hoping to play Shadow Collective no space, and I thought if I get Shadow Collective 3 times, that's going to be 3 wins, right? I'm going to cancel their drains. I'm going to cancel their drains. I'll be out draining them. I'll be limiting their pings. It'll just be easy money. And so going into the event, I was just like, yeah, it'll depend on matchups. And I talked about hidden base with Kyle and Brad. No, sorry, not Brad. Kyle and Mike the night before, and they said, yeah, could work. CCT will be tough, especially if they have Thrawn. But I had some ways to deal with that, and the 2 cannons could maybe shoot through. I was playing Rogue One, since it could go straight to Raltier and maybe stop Rops from flipping as quickly, and then force them to come into me where I can shoot down their space. They had limited space, so I thought, Rops, especially with the drain canceling, and the ability to punch them out of space. Rops and SC were the decks I wanted to see, and CCT was, that was going to be a tough one. But then right before I went to the night before, they said, yeah, I think hidden base, maybe it'll work. You just, as long as you don't see like set your course for Alderaan flip or something, playing Star Destroyers in space and all that kind of stuff. And so it kind of was a not premonition, that's not the right word I'm looking for, a prophecy for what would happen. Is sure enough, game 1, main event, sit down, I'm playing light, hidden base, and I get paired against Brandon, who is I think he was the only Sifa deck at the event. I could be wrong, but I was just like, oh great, this is the one matchup where they said, yeah, you really don't want to see this. And it was a good game. It was fun. I made some mistakes though, and it definitely wasn't what I was hoping for. And then I ended up just playing a ton of CCT. I also thought, I should be okay against CCT. They won't have 3 battlegrounds to cap my drains. But then there were some CCT decks playing a 3rd battleground location as well. So I was, shoot, can't even count on that. So it is what it is. It happens. I mean, even if I get the perfect matchups I want, it doesn't mean I'm gonna do well. But sometimes, when you're going to an event, you gotta make a call and hope it works out. Part of I mean, I shouldn't say it's luck to make the top cut, but I think part of it is, right? Like if you play a deck that has good and bad matchups, if you get good matchups, it's going to help you along your way. Obviously the top players are there because they're consistently good players, right? So I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but in my experience with other games, sometimes all you need is a run of good matchups and to kind of propel you into some success. So yeah, those were the decks I played and how it went. I think I ended up winning over the course of the 3 days. I probably won like 4 games total, which was fine, right? Especially when we're starting out. Star Wars is such a complex game. As a new and returning player, you can't expect to win a ton. Still want to do my best, but don't want to be disappointed either, right? Just take away things that you can learn from every game. Yeah, I can't remember. Is there something else? Oh yeah, the evenings were great. There was board games going on all the time, and you know, it was easy to kind of keep playing, keep hanging out with people, take your mind off of Star Wars cards for a bit, and have some fun playing some board games. So that was a blast as well. Love the atmosphere there, and everything that went along with that. Yeah, I feel like there was one other thing that I was gonna say, and now it is slipping my mind. But yeah, to bring it back to the top, go to in-person events. It is it's the best part. Best part of playing is getting to be in person and getting to meet those people and share those experiences. So yeah, hopefully everyone that is starting out and coming back to the game will get a chance to do that at some point, and I think that'll really kind of rekindle your passion and kind of cement your passion for the game and wanting to continue and keep playing it. But that is all for today. So until next time, may the force be with you.